The planet needs resources, preferably resources that solve more problems than they create. What if we told you that in North America there is such a resource? In fact, there is an infinitely renewable resource that also happens to pull CO2 from the atmosphere and store that carbon in beautiful furniture and buildings for decades or centuries to come. We are talking about sustainably harvested North American hardwoods. Forests cover nearly 1/3 of the United States, providing vital resources, habitats, and beauty. Our forests are made up of two kinds of trees, hardwoods and softwoods. In the United States, hardwood forests are not just a source of beauty, but a vibrant industry that supports hundreds of thousands of jobs and produces beautiful, world-renowned wood products. But how do we balance economic growth with ecological preservation? And when is a good time to cut down a hardwood tree? Are we running out of trees? To find the answers, we visited the scientists at the USDA Forest Products Laboratory in Madison, Wisconsin.
Part of our job is to help educate the public and let them know that in order to sustainably manage a forest, you're going to have to cut down trees. It's just the way it is. And we got to keep educating people on, it's okay to build with wood. It's okay to harvest the trees. At some point, if you're not harvesting the tree, it's going to fall down, and then you're going to lose the value of that lumber in the forest.
The main use of wood is because it is inherently a green material. It's the only material that has green on it. It is a material that is renewable. And it doesn't renew overnight, we know that, but we have so much timber that can be used for lumber or construction materials and not even make a dent in what we have.
Long before the industrial age and the introduction of steel, hardwoods were the resource that built America. Homes, cities, and eventually railroads were all dependent on the utilization of the country's most abundant resource. At the time, the hunger for hardwood timber and the land it occupied exceeded our expertise with national resource management. Over the past century, however, the United States has developed a blueprint for sustainable forestry management based on generations-old techniques. The U.S. Forest Service stewards 193 million acres of national forests and grasslands in the public trust.
If you don't have a managed forest, what's going to happen is that you're going to have a fire come through. And trees have been dealing with fire forever. Bark is very effective at stopping fast, low-temperature fire. What happens is when you have all this fuel load in the forest, it burns long enough that it can get through the bark and actually kill the tree. Or it burns hot enough and high enough to get into the canopy, and then it just goes with the wind. Either one time you have those, then you have the forest fires where you lose the forest. And that is something that we're really trying to avoid.
We're actively managing the forest, removing the trees that need to be removed, leaving the trees that still have time to grow and have value in the forest, consciously thinking about how we're going to harvest a tree, how we're going to use that material in the built environment is the right way to do things.
More than half of the forest land in the United States is owned and managed by some 10.6 million private forest owners, providing over 90% of our domestically produced forest products and supporting more than 2.4 million jobs, primarily in rural communities. These forests face many threats, including wildfires, invasive species, and pests and disease. The U.S. Forest Service employs over 250 specialists in areas of entomology, invasive plants, pesticide use, and other forest health services. The stock of North American hardwoods has nearly doubled since the 1950s. Modern forestry practices and advancement in lumber processing technology have made this growth possible. More efficient sawmills equipped with cutting-edge technology, thinner saw blades, zero-waste processes, and sophisticated mechanical and digital tools have allowed for unprecedented production rates and better material yields than were ever possible in the past. One of the most important innovations of the past century is a practice called selection harvesting, a forestry management process where only mature hardwood trees, those at their peak life, are harvested. This technique not only opens up the canopy to allow sunlight and rain to nourish the forest floor, fostering new growth, but it also enhances carbon storage and promotes diversity in tree heights, benefiting various bird species and other wildlife, while preserving soil nutrients. Thanks to selective harvesting and sawmill advancements, the United States, despite holding only 9% of the global hardwood resource, fulfills about 25% of the worldwide demand for hardwood products. Since 1953, the volume of hardwoods in American forests has increased 131%. It is unquestionably one of America's greatest success stories, giving us a natural resource that we can feel good about using in our daily lives.